Okay, hello everyone. I think that the times for class building are up. Welcome to Novice Semifinal NUDC 2021. My name is Leonardo. I'll be judging with the other 4 judges in this particular round. So to make sure that we are all here, could the judges please introduce? Hello. Hello.
Yes, Leo, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Could the judges please introduce yourself to make sure that you are here?
Hi, I'm Udayana from the Universitas Pajajaran. We'll be paneling alongside Leo today. Good luck, guys.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, I'm Dennis. I'm from Universitas Surabaya. I'll be your panel today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Solia Gajah Mada will be paneling.
Hi everyone. This is Jane. We'll be paneling along with everyone else today. Good luck for everyone in this round.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic. It means that all the judges are here. Then we'll go to the debaters from OG to CO. Are you here? Let's start from OG. Are you complete? OG, are you complete?
We are here and complete.
Okay, thank you. Then OO, are you complete?
Complete.
Great. Then CG.
Here and complete, Kak.
Great. Last but not least, CO.
Here and complete.
Fantastic. Hope that we will have a fun round. Therefore, without further ado, please welcome our Prime Minister here. By the way, please introduce your QI preference before you start your speech. Yeah. Thank you. Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Sorry. I would like to set my timer first.
A kindly reminder for all of the debaters, because we are live streaming, if it is possible, please turn on your camera, except if there are any technical issues such as not good signal or other technical issues such as that. Thank you. You are still muted.
Okay.
OG, you are still muted.
Sorry, it's not conducive here. Well, I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go into my substantive materials, we need to acknowledge 2 things. First, what is external powers? We believe that the external powers is the externalities from regional cooperations, for example, like in African Union. Then the external powers would be US or any or excluded the African Union country members. And what is the in-region alliance and players? We believe that the in-region alliance is those who are include the regional powers and the regional cooperation. So based on this kind of disclaimer, we believe that this house as a regional peace talk should be led by external powers rather than in-region alliance and players. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that the characteristic of external powers is actually to mediate, exclude from any internal interest. For example, when you are in African Union, when in Ethiopia, for example, there is a Ethiopian conflict. Then if it being faced by the African Union, it will not be as effective as US or as China or as Russia and so on and so forth. And what is regional peace talks? We believe that the goals of creation of regional peace talks is to solve the regional problems and avoiding another conflict and avoiding another butterfly effect that may be and is very, very more likely to happen, especially under the very, very sensitive circumstances of conflict. For example, like in Ethiopian conflicts in Ethiopian conflict, or even in any kind of regional powers conflict. And why is it justified and why is it effective under to maintain the regional peace talks under the external powers system? We believe that what is matter under the regional alliance and regional cooperation is neutrality. We believe that there is a so-called deterrence effect. We believe that in IR we acknowledge that deterrent effect is for example, like deterrence is a big, for example, a big power country versus a small power versus a compilation of small power country. We believe that the deterrence effect on region alliance are going to be much worse rather than if we are involving US and also China or any kind of external powers. First, why neutrality is matter? For example, like when the Ethiopian war are finished, are solved by the African Union itself, African Union country member itself, it will be much worse. Why? Because there is a possibilities of, for example, butterfly effect and proxy war. Because, for example, when the other members of African Union are having a dominant interest, for example, towards the Ethiopia itself, or any kind of another interest that may cause any more harms, it will be much worse rather than if we are involving the US itself, ladies and gentlemen. And why is it under the external interest and external domination is still okay if the opposition side of the house say that the US, for example, or the US or the Russia, for example, are going to affect or are going to influence the in-region alliance players become much worse. We are going to say it is not that so. We believe that the communal or more glorious pengawasan will be much effective under the external powers. It does not exist in region alliance and players itself. Why? Because in region alliance and players, we notice that the actors or those who are involved on the kind of peace resolution is those particular actors itself. It's really different when we are bring US or Russia or country with a big power into the ground. We believe that they have much better, for example, much better resources. They have much better capability and ability to solve and to mediate the conflict itself. And why by the involvement of externality will be much better under our side will be we believe that there will be no another conflict, and this is what our goals to solve any conflict. We want this conflict getting wider and wider by the involvement of only those particular actors. We believe that the communal audit or the communal audit are exclusively, for example, in US, because US have a great power, and for example in Russia, audit by Russia, for example, because Russia also has big power itself. We believe that this will more natural since they have the deterrence effect of the US itself rather than the in-region alliance only. It's going to be much better. Even if there will be a conflict, ladies and gentlemen, if the opposite side of the house say that it will not exclude, there will be a conflict anyway, we will say that there will be no big casualties. For example, when the US actually interfering, for example, like in Afghanistan, for example, like in Afghanistan nowadays, there is a conflict and there is clashes under their body. We believe that the involvement of USA is much better. Why? Because we are going to evacuate, or we're going to save the civilians, for example, or we are going to do much better mediation. For example, when the Taliban or when the Afghanistan itself is trying to get ready for any diplomatic effort. Before that, CO. Oh, all right. I would like to just continue myself. But what is we acknowledge as a proxy war itself? We believe that the proxy war is more harmful and more costly, and we believe that why reducing conflict is the most matter because we are to want to minimizing damages. But why then proxy? What is proxy war and what causes it more harm? For example, like when the Ethiopian war, for example, there is an involvement from Egypt, for example, towards the Ethiopian war because Egypt is actually want to dominate the. For example, there is a particular resource that only can be found in Ethiopian. Then the Egypt are trying to dominate the particular resource on Ethiopian. It will be much worse because the Ethiopian are going to be the Egypt are going to be causing any more damages, causing any more conflicts in order to fulfill their interests. It's differently when the U.S. itself trying to involving on such kind of particular conflict in a particular, especially a regional cooperation, which is like in Middle Eastern, because we believe that the Middle Eastern is totally a conflict area because many kind of things that are going to be explained later. That's why we proud of us. Yeah, we are proud of this today.
Okay, thank you for the fine speech. To respond to the Prime Minister, please welcome leader of opposition here.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Government team have completely neglected when we talk about regional peace talk. That means there is regional issue. The government justifiable that the help of regional issue from external countries, from external powers. First, they can mediate and being neutral. Wrong. It is very wrong because in order for that other countries to help, it is obviously they have to have the knowledge of the problem. This is about regional issue, and every regional issue have their own culture, society, and differentiating and really differentiate from other countries. So it is very unlikely that they could just become mediate and neutral to solve that regional issue. Second, they believe that African Union as the regional union internal hub would become more dominant and more harm. That is very wrong because, for example, talking about in region Africa, obviously African Union would be much more better actors due to the fact that they are responsible and that their job is to improve the region of that set of their set in, and this applies to all the union in every country. So they mentioned that the other countries could provide better resource and ability, but first it would most likely that it would be in the interest of that country and from their point of view. And why is that going to do more harm? First, for example, what if after they also never talk about after the peace talk. So what if after the peace talk, since the US, Russia, and all of the countries from external powers ask that region to give them something, it is most likely to happen, and that it could be justifiable because we help your region. So that's why you have to pay us back. So no, it is giving much more better resource and ability, but with the harm of that would not improve any peace talk, and that would bring back from the zero again. So regional peace talk should not be meddled by many countries due to the fact that the problem is in the regional itself. It's about their society, culture, language, and many other things of their own. Involving external power may give benefits like getting help from a lot of countries, but this is not going to guarantee that the help would actually works, and even could be worsened because it worsened the status quo, and that even after the issue have been solved, the countries that help could most likely, let's just say, in the worst case scenario, take over that region, or like they force that region to give them something in the benefit, because obviously the other countries would not just put their resource and their all of their financial and capable thing just to help other countries, and yet they not give any benefits. So it's most likely that the external powers would give only help in the interest of their own. So we believe if we use region union or internal help, it would be much more preferable. So while in our side of the house, comparatively, our problem managed by the regional union, they are the best actors, because it is their responsibility to put the interest and the goal of the region itself. In region alliances, their interest would be to create stability and security for the country members. Therefore, they are going to be the best actors, and they are going to make the issue to be solved much more clearer, and would be much more less casualty or harm, such as external power. Having external power, that means you have a lot of opinions and a lot of works, and that could not be managed well just by region, but just by the government of that region. So it's completely a complicated process, and even the best case scenario that they have the resource and the ability to help. The ability to help, the government team have failed to prove how is it going to look like after the peace talk. So giving more benefits on why region union would be much more benefit. First, people would prefer getting help from organization that is legitimate. This is the importance of legitimacy. That means these people would most likely to trust and even support and enjoy and also wanting to help instead accepting help from external countries that is not legitimate and only in the interest of their own. For example, in regional Africa, and we have African Union, the people would much prefer getting help and support by this legitimate organization due to the fact that they know this, and Union Africa, their name clearly already set up that their goal and responsibility is for the Africa itself, and it could be applicable for all of the region. So we have talking about the complicated things that would most likely happen in the government team. So we have seen many union conference about, for example, getting improvement for Africa and other small countries. And yet in the status quo, even after almost all of those conference, the help would only be temporary. After that, after the peace talk, after months, after the years, the help never become much more sustainable. In our side of the house, it is already their responsibility to make the help much more sustainable. And how exactly this is going to happen? Well, it is obviously obvious that this is that region union it's their responsibility. And it is most likely that the people and all of that would work on together and help. So to sum up, we believe getting external powers would only complicate things and could be worsened in the middle and after the peace talk, because it only focused on the interest of that country, and it most likely on this country only having selfish benefits. While in our side, we have the legitimacy, so the trust and the help is very much clear, and it is a very great vision and mission, and that is why region union should much be helpful than external powers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the fine speech. To respond to the leader of opposition, please welcome Deputy Prime Minister. A kindly reminder to all of the debaters, you are obligated to take at least one POI. Therefore, just a kind reminder, please continue to Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, you're good.
My preference is from chat, and my gender pronouns is she or her. So if you have any POI, please respectfully do not open your microphone, and I will be checking the chat box regularly. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Now, let's see the opposition side of the house. Biggest concern in this debate is about what if there are that kind of conflict is not resolved immediately, ladies and gentlemen. But notice, first of all, when there is a conflict, when there is a first conflict, the faster the conflict resolved doesn't mean that that kind of conflict will not be happen or will not be continued in the future, right? So therefore, we have the same interest to maintain the peace or to maintain the conflict resolvedness in this debate. So therefore, but we believe that it will be much better done under our side, because like what my first speaker has told you, that we under our side we have achievable goals, which is the conflict will not be bigger to other places as well, so we could actually avoid collateral damage in the future. But notice how the opposition of the house never explained to you why and answer our question, what if under the region alliances, this kind of conflict will not be spreaded any bigger and wider, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, other question coming from the opposition of the house is about something in return or a payment for the conflict resolve, right? But we believe that there is no harm in asking for help to other parties in order to secure your region, for example, right? And moreover than that, the government of the house never explained to you what is the harm payment that the external powers ask in return, right? So therefore, we believe that the payment is not really that harmful. For example, maybe they only ask for like trading relations or trading cooperations and so on and so forth, right? And that is very not harmful at all. It's not like they are going to colonize you or something like that. So therefore, that kind of argument cannot be bought and credited in this debate anymore. So point to OG. Second of all, ladies and gentlemen, the moment they say that people trust and support the legitimate of the parties that engage in that conflict, we believe that people will trust more guaranteed result, ladies and gentlemen. And under our side, we can give you more likelihoodness that this conflict is not going to be much bigger, and we can avoid collateral damage, right? But under the government side of the house, they never explain to you how collateral damage is not going to be happen under their side, right? Because we believe that the deterrence effect and the deterrence effect coming from the external powers who have greater power is enough to meredam those conflicts in the future, right? So ladies and gentlemen, under the complexity that the opposition of the house has mentioned earlier, we believe that we believe that exactly by using legitimate organizations such as the external power who held a greater power than the region alliance, it only adds more complexity to the peace because the resolution will be done by more actors, more interest, and so on and so forth. So therefore, it will be much harmful when it is done under the regional alliances, because they have certain dominant and certain interest itself. But comparatively, under our side, we believe that using external powers could, using the deterrence effect itself, we believe that the neutrality is more guaranteed, because those external parties, have no certain or dominant interest within the involved parties inside the region itself, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore, we believe that the resolution will be much more likely to be achieved under our side, right? So we believe that either in internal or external actor, we believe that conflict will still exist, sure, but we believe using our goals, using our mechanism, it will be more efficient putting external actor to resolving this kind of problem, because the conflict is not going to be spreaded anyway, because they have a proper resource or a proper mechanism to solve this case anyway, ladies and gentlemen. Moreover than that, even if the opposition of the house saying that they have the region alliances have the knowledge of problem itself, that external power doesn't have any idea about what is happening inside that region itself, we believe that big countries, especially like USA or even Russia, has their agents like literally everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. For example, in Korean Peninsula War, since there's deterrence from USA, the North Korea is not attacking answer right now, right? Because USA, who has a big influence in the world right now, is opting into that conflict to prevent the conflict to be bigger anyway, because since USA has bigger armies, bigger technology, and so on, so this kind of resolution can be done under our side better than the opposition side of the House, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that under OG, the achievable goal will be much be achievable in the end of the day, because we are thinking not only the interest of the countries itself, but also the after effect after the peace talk itself, ladies and gentlemen, because they have greater power, therefore it's not going to be much bigger in the end of the day. My first speaker has also explained to you about the harm of proxy war that is actually possible to happen under the opposition side of the House, but they never engaged to begin with. We believe that it is very harmful and very costly, because when the proxy war happens, if the region alliances is fail to resolve this problem in the end of the day, it only divide the regional alliances into much bigger conflicts. Therefore, it will lead to more casualties in the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore, under the opposition side of the House, the neutrality is not really guaranteed, because they have because inside that region alliances, they have the same power. First, they have the same power. Second of all, they also have certain or dominant interest within the region itself, ladies and gentlemen. So the neutrality is not going to be effective under the opposition side of the House. Third of all, ladies and gentlemen, even if the worst case scenario under our side is about the payment itself, ladies and gentlemen, if the opposition of the House is worried about the payment that is going to be asked by the resolvent, by the country, the party who resolved the problem to begin with, we believe that the payment is not going to be that harmful to be asked for resolving that kind of problem, ladies and gentlemen, because because the interest of a country, and also the interest of a country is to ensure the safety of their people and also the survivability of that country itself, right? So therefore, the payment that the opposition of the House is glorifying to begin with is not going to be that harmful in the end of the day. And under our side, the conflict will be more likely to be minimized because of the deterrence effect that the region who has a conflict inside it is going to be trust more to the external powers because of the neutrality and the great powers that they have. So we proud to propose.
Okay, thank you for the kind speech. To close the opening half, please welcome Deputy Leader of Opposition here.
Wait, give me a second to arrange my papers. Okay, I would start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before I would like to start with my extensions, I would like to give rebuttals towards the OG side of the House. Firstly, they said about how communal is much more effective. It is much more effective in external powers because the actors are from internal region is not going to give a better decision-making process. We believe that in terms of in a union to begin with, there are a lot of countries in the union, right? It is not just a country. Therefore, the union leaders are able to see a bigger picture because they are the neutral actor here. Because as the union, you have the every interest to actually be neutral in a peace talk, right? And this is inherently important in a peace talk because in a peace talk, these neutral actors are able to lead the discussion process without any biasness in other countries. What happens in the side of the House? In the side of the House, these external actors, US, for example, or Russia, for example, they tend to have favorites in a peace talk, right? And they have their own interest to be involved in a particular place. That's why they involve to the particular conflict to begin with, right? And therefore, in terms of having this favorite in peace talk and having their own interests, they tend to be more biased in decision-making process, which we do not interest in this kind of peace talk, right? Therefore, we believe that they are not the best actor to do this at the end of the day. Second of all, they also repeatedly said about deterrence effect in the of the house may be bigger. Okay, we concede that the deterrence effect in the Senate is bigger, but let me prove to you on how deterrence effect is inherently not needed in a peace talk. Because when we talk about deterrence effect, if you give deterrence effect towards those people that in the peace talk, in the discussion process, it kills the peace talk process. Because, for example, a big country like US makes Ethiopia scared, and they brought fear towards the country. Therefore, the fear that they brought to this discussion is not good for a discussion, because when people are in fear, they cannot think rationally. They will think irrationally. They will be discouraged to actually say something, right? Therefore, it discourages the discussion process anyways. Therefore, it is going to be harmful in this of the house, because the discussion itself is not going to be good, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Second of all, let's talk about what we have brought to you. We have proven on how, in terms of political and international relations, we have to have a legitimate party that led the regional peace talk, right? Let's talk about two things. Firstly, interest. When talking about Russia and USA, they are independent country, right? They have they will most likely have their own interest to have their own goal in doing things such as intervention and etc. Right? When we're talking about independent country, they have less legitimacy in that area, because even if that they have the power to do so, they are not accomplished over a regional union. When we're talking about people in that country, when we're talking about leaders, people would more likely to believe in someone that is more legitimate in a discussion, right? Because it is more important for the peace talk. Because in a peace talk, you as a leader, you consider a lot of things. You consider the interest of your discussion partner. You consider the interest of your own discussion leader, right? Because this affects the future of the country. Therefore, you do not trust easily as a party without any legitimacy, right? Moreover, seeing the past of US has a lot of intervention. Therefore, these people are afraid of the results of the peace talk. If the peace talk does not go well, they are afraid that US is going to get intervention in terms of war, for example, like that. Therefore, they are just going to say, oh, US says this, then just follow them. We don't want more intervention. What is the comparison? The comparison, when African Union or European Union, their interests are clear. We know their interests. Their interest is to maintain integrity of their country member, is to maintain security, right? They have more legitimacy within the discussion. It is easier to cater discussion actors to trust in them and their leadership throughout the discussion. Why is it important? Because talking about trust, this is the thing that makes a peace talk easier to achieve, because as a country leader, you already know the union that we are. Most importantly, you already committed to be in that union, right? Therefore, it justifies them, and for you to actually have the discussion in the first place. Therefore, better discussion process in the house is going to be achieved. And this is in line with the interest of peace talk itself, where we want to achieve the best discussion process that we can get. That better discussion process is easier to actually reconcile and resolve the problem at the end of the day. This tackles down the entire OG premises. Okay, second of all, let me prove to you on how US and other external powers are not the best actor to do regional peace talk. Because we're talking about regional, the problem is within that region, right? We see that an external party has no justifiable reason to actually be involved in this case. And second of all, let's talk about what happens in the past when their house never explained what will happen when the peace talk fails, right? When more discussion and peace talk is led by US, for example, they led to intervention at the end of the day. What happened after the peace talk, if it doesn't work, is war, right? In also of the house, if the peace talk does not, if the peace talk fail, it is going to be better in regional alliance, because as a legitimate union, first you have accountability in terms of war crime. Therefore, those things, if things go south, they as a union can take care of things. They can take accountability. Therefore, it minimizes the risk of a bad intervention and prolonged war. Therefore, there are less collateral damage is going to be there at the end of the day. This tackle down OG substantive about collateral damages from communal involvement. Second of all, let's talk about the post-conflict re-infrastructuring. When we're talking about unions' interest, it is the stability and the prosperity of their country members, right? And after the conflict, regardless of the peace talk working or not, they are able to cater the countries that is within the union to help us the infrastructure, right? For example, if after the Ethiopian war, Ethiopian civil war, regardless of if the peace talk works or not, all of the African countries that is in the African Union are able to rebuild, to help to rebuild the country. What happened in this part of the house, for example, US and Russia, after the conflict resolved, they leave the country because their only interest is to solve the problem and not to rebuild the country, right? They don't have the interest to do that. And after they are solved, they may give the authority to unions, but it will be harder to transfer the burden from US, for example, to other regional union, and needs more time to actually do it. This prolong the time of actually rebuilding the country, this obstruct the country rebuilding process and takes a longer time. Therefore, I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you. I oppose, sorry.
Okay, thank you for the 5 tips. To open the closing debate, please welcome member of government here. And kindly reminder to all of the debaters, please identify or even overview speakers, because that is our standard in this tournament. Therefore, for the member of government, the floor is yours.
Hello, am I audible and visible?
Yep, you're audible and visible.
All right, I do not have any pronoun specifications, and I prefer POI through unmuting yourself because I will not be likely opening chats in the Zoom. Wait a moment, let me just prepare my timer. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. What is lacking in the opening government side of the house is the characterization on these external powers. So in our setup, what we want to characterize are these external powers, these US, Russian, etc., right? And why are they called external powers in the first place, right? What it means is that they are developed, they are experienced, they are respected by the international society, that they are capable of solving problems, they are capable of doing so, right? That is why they are the external powers in the first place, and that is why we think that it will be successful in peace talks. That will be further elaborated in my arguments. And not just that, but how are we going to do this? So what we want is these big powers and big external powers will directly intervene with the discussion and choosing and etc., right? And by helping that, we believe that it can help these regions who are in need of help in the end of the day. So what will be provided is that they will be provided rational decisions, they'll be provided tactics, they'll be providing military if it is needed, and seen objectively, right? See the problem objectively. But before going on to my argument, there are several rebuttals that we want to clarify, right? When they have stated about how these external powers will not be neutral and they will not be the relation with like how regional union are, right? So let us first characterize what are the problem, the regional power and the regional problem that is happening. The issues are usually about human rights protection, right? So we believe when they say these US external powers are not able to understand what is happening inside, is not true, because we believe in the perspective we want to uphold human rights, for example. That is why we think that it can the US can actually help the region itself, right? And not just that, but they have stated about don't understand the culture and etc. Ladies and gentlemen, that is where the discussion will happen, right? By these external powers that have experience, that they already have a lot of power in the first place, to be able to show their decisions, to show their opinions about how to do strategically help these regional. That is why we think it is still capable, because there's still discussion in the first place. Now, going on to my arguments on how. There I'll be bringing 2 arguments about how this will guarantee peace talk and how it will guarantee it work. And second of all, even if we do agree that there are still motive behind these external powers, it is still okay. Now, going on to my first argument about how this will guarantee peace talk and how it will work in both and give benefits for both sides of the house. So first of all, let us have a comparison of our best case scenario. Our best case scenario, okay, the US are able to help people from Rohingya, for example, and and help them make peace talks. Now, in their side of the house, what they categorize as success is that these regional union are able to help, right? But what they have failed to understand is that regional union, meaning that they are the people who are the regional who are in problem in the first place are a part of their members, right? So what will happen in the end of the day? So let us give you a picturization. For example, Indonesia has a problem with Malaysia, for example, and the organization of regional union chooses, for example, Malaysia. So what happens is that these union will be seeing that they are choosing one side over another, one country over another. So what will happen? What is so bad about if union seen as only choosing one party over another, or one country over another? So what will happen is that the goal of this union in the first place will be gone, right? So for example, as my example for Indonesia and Malaysia, right? So what will happen in the end of the day is the goal of ASEAN, right? That is the union that will quote unquote solve in their side of the house, their best case, right? What will happen is that the goal is not there. The goal of ASEAN is to accelerate economic growth. The goal of ASEAN to keep regional peace. So what will happen is that what happened between, so when ASEAN only chooses one country above another, meaning that these countries who are not chosen by ASEAN will seen as what is their legitimacy in the ASEAN itself. So what will happen? There is potential for a certain country to opt out, for example. There's a country who do not want to work together, and that is not the goal of the regional itself, right? That is the question that we need and we beg to be answered by the opposition side of the house. Now, let us first characterize the peace talk, right? The goal is to get peace. The goal is, okay, we get it. We want to get benefit for the external power and also the regional power. So what will happen is that these external power will be ready, will have experience, and will be successful. So let us say in our worst case scenario, we are not successful and cause more chaos. So what will happen? First of all, we say that it is still able in our capability to do so, because we, as the external power, we have military, we have techniques, we have power that can help actually the chaotic thing, the chaotic problem that potentially will be happen, right? And not just that, but regional alliances have almost backgrounds, right? And for example, what it is also needed is that different POVs, right? What we mean by different POVs is, for example, in ASEAN, they only see from the perspective of culture, from the perspective of religion, etc. For example, but what we came in here is giving the solution. Oh, there is still the perspective of economy. Oh, there is still perspective in political interest. So this is what we see in external power, because they do not understand the exact culture, they try to give a more neutralized aspect, and that is what we have mechanized later on in the future, right? So this is different, why we show that different POV is good in order to finish the conflict and etc. Now going on to my second argument about how, yes, we do agree that there might be motive behind it and it's okay. First we say no, there's no motive, because the only intention is to be seen as good in the in the international society. But even if there is the motive, we see it is okay, because there are three responses to that. First of all, at least the problem is solved. Second of all, it is just intentions. And third of all, even if it's not just intention and they are real, it is still okay. For example, US or China exploiting a land in the country. We say first, the exploitation will not happen. But even if it does happen, it is at least working, because in the end of the day, in order for them to exploit in a certain country, they need to be able to have peace in the country, right? So they will make sure and try to make sure that peace talk will happen in the first place and work in the end of the day. Therefore, they try to exploit the country, and we believe it is okay, because at least when they are building public, for example, they give workspace for these the society to work in, right? So we see that even if there's exploitation, in the end of the day, it is still work, and how it can guarantee the peace talk will still happen and their likelihood of doing that. Thank you. That is all for my speech.
Thank you for the fine speech. To open the closing opposition debate, please welcome member of opposition here.
Can you give me a minute? Oh, I need to go to the toilet. Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we start our continue our debate, kindly reminder to all of the debaters, it is mandatory and obligated for all of the debaters to at least take one POI, or even just ask them if there are any POI before you continue, before it's 6. So therefore, the POI will be taken by you. At least you will know there is a POI or no from the other speaker, maybe because you didn't see the chat box or even they forget to unmute it themselves. Therefore, just a reminder to all, especially for the closing one, to take at least one POI. Thank you. To continue the speech, please welcome the member of the opposition, Share.
Let me set my timer. All right. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Something that's coming from the opposing government side of the house is nothing exclusive, rather than just being repetitive towards what the opening government side of the house has brought to you. But even if there is something that's probably exclusive, probably is the different point of view, and that is, we don't think that is something that's exclusive. I'm going to explain to you further why that different perspective is something that has failed at the very beginning. And I will give you the examples, right? But to respond to what the whole government branches has brought to you, whereas actually they keep giving the deterrence, because if you are being led by the external power, then it's mean you are going to have a direct interference to the peace talk. But why we think as the closing government, this is something that's very harmful to begin with, right? You have to always remember that even external power, there is no pure altruism onto the reason why they need to help someone or need to solve the peace talk at the very beginning, right? Even if you are Russia or you are USA, for example, the moment when you try to solve the problem in the North Korea, you still have the interest behind that, right? It's whether it's going to be neutral, as well as going to be the harm in the future for yourself, or second of all, whether it's going to be beneficial for you in the future, right? I'm going to explain in my substantive material. Furthermore, if you are going to use the external power that really have the big power, it could be biased to one side that you want to fully support, that is beneficial, right? The harm that the opening government side didn't really, from the government side, didn't really realize is the moment when you have big power to lead this kind of peace talk, the moment when you feel biased and you feel that one of those party can beneficial for you, you are going to easily achieve that, because the other party or the opposition side that you don't really support is going to simply shut down, just simply as what the government side of the house has told you. They have the big power to do so, so they are going to be scared of these people, right? It's unlikely to happen under our side. The moment when you use the region union, it won't happen. Even if the deal fail, for example, these are less likely going to be utilized, just simply because they won't create bigger damage onto your region, because it is going to be disadvantageous for them. And I'm going to explain that further in my substantive material. And I will integrate that on why it is better under our size, right? So let's jump into my substantive material and let's respond the other along the way, right? The first thing that we have to clarify and make and bring the clarity to the debate is we have to talk about the external powers first, right? External powers meaning that you have far from having interest and have power to calm down, and because you are led by the big country who has big influence, for example, such as USA or China, so forth and so on. But at the very beginning, as what I've told you, you have to understand why one external party want to lead the discourse, because we don't believe any pure altruism in this world, right? The hope for return at the very beginning, it is either beneficial for you to gain support in the future or network, or second of all, you want to neutralize the future harm for you, right? As well, I've told you the reason why US and Russia lead the North Korea is just simply because they want to neutralize the future harm, because North Korea can attack those two countries in low difficulty, because they have the most powerful nuclear arms, and second of all, probably it could be beneficial for them too, because of their qualitative power could remain in the top place, right? So there is no pure altruism in this world. There is still a reason why this external power want to lead this. It is needed to and also in the worst case scenario of even if the worst case scenario, we just say that they have the pure altruism, they don't have the full understanding as what the opposition always want to champion, right? Of what the struggle is. They just simply only collect the data from the textbook. Probably the governments are already responded to this, and they told us that they have the agents and they have someone that is very clever or smart, so they could exactly know what is happening in the current status quo. But what the real issue is bigger than the collected data, as what we can see in the current status quo, as what the opening governments probably tried to champion, for example, like the US and Taliban, but the peace deal at the very beginning has failed just simply because US didn't really understand what is actually happening and become the struggle in the Afghan itself, right? They just simply give you the different perspective that they think could be really could possibly finish and create peace into that regions, but it's actually failed at the end of the day, right? The Taliban still betray the US just simply because the Taliban really feel that the US is stupid, just simply because they just really don't know what is actually happening in that place, right? Even the US has been 20 years in that side. But even in the worst case scenario, the moment when you have tried to utilize the external power, the moment when you fail, for example, like US fail to do to have the peace between Taliban and Afghanistan, there is another far more dangerous harm towards this kind of pistol, right? For example, the US failed at the very beginning. The other country that feel that they can really solve this problem, for example, like China or Russia at the end of the day, this is going to be more harmful and more problematic for this region, just simply because they will be utilized, for example, to fight another country, and we don't think that is something that we want in the peace talk, just in the worst case scenario, because opening bounds until the closing government didn't engage to those things, right? Unlike the moment when it's led by the in-the-region alliances and players, even if they have no pure altruism, they need to benefit the leader. What is the scenario? But before I jump into this, any POI?
Yeah, what is the most explicit contributions of ASEAN as regional powers towards Rohingya conflict? For example, if you say that internal body knows their internal perfection.
Okay, that is something that I want to talk in this in next, right? But what is the best in our scenario? The moment when you don't have any pure altruism, the moment when you use this region union, right? The civil war, for example, or any harm occur in this region could be tangible and felt by the other country in those regions, or probably even the leader, right? What it lead to? The economy failure and unpeace condition. This kind of thing is felt by the leader coming from those regions, just simply because they also will feel they will also feel the investment in their regions collapse, just simply because the security in those regions is not true, it's not tangible, right? The unpure altruism that occur to help the country out, also for the sake of their own region and for the sake of their own country. So we don't think this harm of the utilizing in this peace talk is that harmful if you compare to the external power. Also, this leader will also have more understanding on what's happening, because the conflict is most likely to happen under regions, right? They really see on what is happening. Result, the peace deal is going to be more objective, rather than if you use the external power, where it's going to be more subjective in the best case scenario, that you are going to collect data that we have proved to you is more likely to fail, and there's already example. It is failure, and it could lead to further harm. Right? Once again, even if there's no pure altruism, the best benefit is going to be experienced under our side, because of the reason I'm very proud to oppose.
Okay, thank you for the fine speech. To close the government case, please welcome Government Whip here.
Okay, am I audible and visible?
Yep, you're audible and visible.
Okay, my POI preference is through chat, and wait a moment, I'll arrange my paper. I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Notice that the opening government side of the House only playing on their best case scenario on that they're gonna be successful in the future, and they are not playing, and they have not mechanized set up from the very first place, and they haven't characterized enough about the external power that we already given to you in closing government, and this is why we should win over OG from the very first start, right? But first of all, few responses to OO, quite a lot actually. They stated about how at the end of the day the external powers cannot be neutral. Okay, let's play in an area where at the end both parties, which is regional alliance or this external powers, are not being neutral, because this could happen in a decision making, right? Where this neutral is not there, they are being biased, for example. But at least in our side of the house, they are not going to interfere with the final decision if that bias happen, right? Because this external powers country already shows you a huge power from to begin with, right? Meaning at the end of the day, the conflict won't happen if they don't agree with the final decision that is made by the external powers, right? While if this is made by the African Union, for example, or ASEAN, for example, they can, if they give their final decision at the end of the day, there's still a probability that all of this that the conflict won't be solved, because they don't accept the final decision. Why? Because they feel like this union is the one that have the same background with them, they have the same capability with them. That's why they are union from the very first place, right? So this is why there is a probability, there is no deterrence effect whatsoever if it's led by the by the union in the regional alliances, for example, right? And not just that, they also stated about how the African Union and the other union, their proposes are to improve the country. So it is legitimate for them to actually solve this, right? This is the problem, right? Why this only by knowing that it is their purposes, it's enough to actually solve the problem, right? Notice that external powers, for example, USA, want to get an attention in the eye of society, and it is in line with the interest if they are solving another country's problem. For example, if USA are able to solve another country's problem, then the political side, for example, example, Joe Biden made it to resolve problem in country A, for example, they will get more exposure rather than union, for example, African Union or ASEAN, because African Union and ASEAN will be seen only by, for example, it's their duty to actually maintain the prosperity and maintain the peace, for example. But if this external countries is actually in there, it will actually give them more exposure and more benefit, because it's not their duty to begin with, right? So we believe at the end of the day, because it is more beneficial for them, at the end of the day, they will try their hard and their best to actually make this peace talk working at the end of the day, because they know, because all of the international society already know that they are powerful enough to actually solve this at the end of the day, right? And they also stated about how the problem is in their region, so we don't need another backup from another country, for example. Yes, the problem it is in the region, and let's characterize ASEAN and African Union and another union, right? They are a union because they having the same background, they almost have the same capability, they almost have this the same financial safety, for example. So at the end of the day, isn't it going to be a deadlock if you're asking for help from party that have the same capability or the same POV from you? It will be a deadlock in the end of the day. Why? Because at the end of the day, it won't solve any problem, because you guys have the same capability of thinking, you have the same capability to and even the same problem and the same conflict inside the union. That's almost happened. And at the end of the day, it will be better if we ask someone that is actually already experienced and someone that is outside the region, because they have a total different background, for example. Why? Because they can give us another POV that is not going to be a deadlock at the end of the day, right? So we believe at the end of the day, it is going to be a lot deadlock if we ask for someone or another party that is actually have the same capability as you, and maybe have the almost same conflict as you. So it is not going to be a better in their side of the house, right? They also stated about how external power will give help only based on their interest and so on and so forth. We believe that this won't happen. Why? First, it won't happen because their discussion won't be there if their interest is not going to be the same, right? Meanwhile, they need discussion to happen because they want this benefit outcome that comes to them, right? Because the big intention are coming from the eye of the international society. They will be seen in the eye of international society, and all of the and she will and this country will also be seen as the rational actor. So they will keep their image as better as they could to actually make the peace worse, right? And even if it has happened, at the end of the day, even if they are using even if they are forcing their political interest into this discussion, it is still okay. Why? Because at the end of the day, at least they are trying the problems to be solved at the end of the day, right? So we believe that it is still okay. And then they stated about how it is not legitimate for the African Union to actually the country, they see no legitimacy coming from this country. We are actually questioning the legitimacy that they mean of this external power, as we know that external power country also have the legitimacy, also have the ability to actually solve the problem. That's why they are be seen they are seen as actually external power country because they have the ability to and more resource at the end of the day to actually solve the problem, right? And they also stated about how deterrence effects are not needed in this case, while we believe that deterrence effects are always needed in this case. Why? Because at the end of the day, deterrence effects is the only thing, and fear is the only thing that could cause you make more civil war, make more problem inside the region, right? So at least in the very first place, they are fear to actually make a civil war and make a problem inside their country, right? Even though the irrational decision coming up, it's not going to be as bad as making conflict at the end of the day. Why? Because they already have the fear of these external powers coming into inside their country and coming inside the country and trying to solve everything. So we believe at the end of the day, this deterrence effect is always needed, which make all of the arguments down from the opening opposition. And coming to the closing opposition, they stated about how they don't have any altruism whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, notice that ASEAN solving the problem doesn't mean it's because, oh, I want to solve the problem because I'm nice, I just want to solve the problem. No, they also have altruism inside it because they help you only to fulfill their duty to make better economy inside the union, right? So altruism at the end of the day is not exclusive in their side of the house. At least in our side of the house, the altruism is going to be better. Why? Because at the end of the day, the altruism is coming from a bigger party, ladies and gentlemen, meaning at the end of the day, it will give you more benefits rather than a party that is almost the same like you, almost have the same capability like you. So we believe at the end of the day, the altruism is going to be better. For example, the altruism is in the form of exploitation, like my member already stated before. It's going to be better because at least this bigger country provide you more workplace and building factory and so on and so forth. They already stated about how the dangerous harm is not going to be achieved in their side of the house. So we believe that conflict is going to happen, probably going to happen in both sides of the house, right? But at least in our side of the house, we have a better strategy to actually stop or at least protect the civilian there. Why? Because as USA or a big external power country, we have a big military forces to actually stop and protect the civilians inside that country, right? So we believe at the end of the day, even though dangerous harm does happen, at least in our side of the house, we have an enough and proper strategy to actually eradicate that thing and eradicate the number of casualties at the end of the day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To close the entire debate, please welcome opposition whip here.
Am I audible?
Opposition whip.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
I might not open the cam to avoid losing signal. Okay, my PI preference would be through the chat box. Any pronoun. Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So as far as we see, there are two classes in this debate. The first one is which is more effective, and the second one is harm, pause, and free the deal. OG and CG brought to you the idea that it is going to be more effective because of this external power have more power and could control the situation. But what my first speaker have told you, this external power is going to be harmful because the moment when they become biased toward one side, it's going to be poor condition for the opponent because they are going to be shut down by the superpower country. Furthermore, the neutrality that they want to achieve has been responded by my first speaker because there are no pure altruism, hence we don't think the essence of neutrality really there. Only more realistic way is from opposition bench. Why we realize the most important thing is the leader can relate to the situation. The only one that can relate is the regional leader because they really feel the situation and more objective. Even if external power have agents, but it will only lead to subjective condition without any real struggle from those parties need the peace right. As what US and Taliban have experienced, it ended up well because the US don't really know what's actually happening. Furthermore, my first speaker have told you why it's more effective because of the leader really want to solve the problem because of damage also being felt by the leader. The leader will put as effort to finish it, make sure their own country and their region better. The second one is talking about the threat from both better. External power is going to have their own interest for their reason on why they need to help one or two countries, whether it's going to be about neutralizing harm or of benefit for them. And this is something very harmful because the other country who has no benefit for them are going to be shut, right? Unlike our side, even if the leader also have reason to really utilize the moment, but it's actually for their own region, right? They need to solve the problem as fast as they can. Also, the moment when you have utilized the external power, the moment when you fail at a bigger country who is the rival of your mediator rival, you are going to be utilized in worse way. Furthermore, even if the altruism is there, like what the CG have told you, for example, ASEAN, then you could already see why altruism can come from the Asian, not from external power. Even if they are utilized and given work as what CG had told you, the return won't be exclusive, right? You are hired with low wages as what the external power wants you to be. We don't think this is something good, even if when they try to build by themselves won't be that good because the wages still remain low. But the benefit, for example, the resources, it's going to be for the nation, not you, mediator. This won't happen under regional because in best case scenario, they really have the altruism, or in worst case, no, it's for your region that you can fail. Because of that reason, I'm proud to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, I think that will end our debate in the Novice Semifinal. Thank you for all of the debater. You guys have done well. Now all of the judges will do oral conference.